the leader in talk radio on the Internet, right here on K98Talk.com.
If you want to work until you keel over, have less of everything in retirement, or give back more of your hard-earned money to the stock market again, then just ignore me. But if you'd like to protect the money you save, receive a steady, predictable retirement income, and enjoy financial security for as long as you live, then listen to this. You can download a free report that reveals the wealth-building secrets Wall Street and the banks don't want you to know. You'll learn how you can get guaranteed growth, safety, and real prosperity without risking your money in the Wall Street casino, and how to get the money you need when you need it, simply by asking for it. This is the best way to have a 100% secure retirement and know your money will last as long as you do. To learn more about this method and to get your free report, go to 29security.com. That's the number 29security.com. 29security.com. Go to 29security.com.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it. There to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
In these uncertain economic times, you've got to do whatever you can to save money. One of our biggest expenses can be our cars, especially when unexpected repair bills hit. Not anymore. If you own a vehicle with less than 130,000 miles, is less than 12 years old, has a warranty about to expire, or even no warranty at all, you could stop paying for car repairs. Roadside assistance, towing, and rental coverage are all included. Don't wait for the next repair. Make one free call right now to see if you qualify. If your vehicle is less than 12 years old, has less than 130,000 miles, even if it's out of warranty, paying for car repairs can become a thing of the past. Call us right now and get your car protected before your next repair bill hits. Get protection and no more repair bills. Call 800-696-1030. Again, 800-696-1030. That's 800-696-1030. 800-696-1030.
All right, folks, this is Rick Robinson with you. I want to tell you about some friends of mine from a company called Security Enforcement Specialists. When I ran my security agency for 12 years, I worked with one of these partners on a daily basis. He's been involved in this agency now, and with his other partner, they do have over 30 years of experience in the private security industry. If you own a business and you need someone to keep you or your customers or residents safe, then I highly recommend contacting Security Enforcement Specialists today. Give them a call at 405-703-1796. Again, that's 405-703-1796. And again, tell them Rick from K98 Talk sent you. Like I said, if you need the help, they are here for you. So make sure that you go look them up, check them out, and see what they can do.
Wrong way. Welcome to the place. Welcome.
Joe had huge problems with the IRS.
I knew it was coming. I hadn't filed taxes since 1990.
All the IRS letters coming in added up to a nightmare.
It got up to like $68,000. My heart started beating fast. It's like, there's no way, man. I mean, I ain't going to be able to do this.
Then they stopped his paycheck.
So that's when I started making phone calls and found U.S. Tax Shield.
U.S. Tax Shield went to work immediately.
They just took the bull by the horns. What blew my mind is he called the IRS right then and there.
So why is U.S. Tax Shield A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau? Joe knows.
They saved me a ridiculous amount of money.
If you owe more than $10,000 to the IRS or state, choose the company Joe chose, U.S. Tax Shield.
It was the best decision I made. U.S. Tax Shield is the way to go. Life is good. Thank you, Lord.
Call 800-471-3287.
U.S. Tax Shield. Boo-rah. Yes.
800-471-3287. 800-471-3287.
The Internet will never be the same. You're listening to K98Talk.com.
Good God, y'all. What is it good for? Absolutely.
Welcome to Cooper Talk. I'm your host, Steve Cooper, and remember, I'm only as hip as my guest. And I got to tell you, I have to give a certain shout-out to a guy I went to college with. His name's Glenn Minter. And it's funny because when we went to college together, he came in a year later, even though we were the same age. And he was a really good-looking guy. So he was tramping on all our chances to get some girls because he was a handsome guy. And we became friends on Facebook, and he always busts my balls because he's voting for Trump, but it's no big deal. But I sat there, and he was supposed to go to Springsteen last time Springsteen played in New York, but he got snowed out. So I said, hey, man, get me one of those $10 shirts, because there's something about those concert T-shirts they sell on the street. They end up lasting forever. People think, oh, you wash and they shrink. I have a Police concert show from the Dodger Stadium years ago. So I sat there, and I thought he was bullshitting around. He sends me a message today. He goes, oh, give me your address. I'm going to send you that Springsteen shirt. So I just want to say thanks, Glenn Minter. See, that's Stockton guys. You know, you may have cockblocked me a few times back in the day, but it's all good. Anyway, we have a great show. My guest, this is no lie, years ago when I first started out Cooper Talk back in the old studios. Actually, when it was it wasn't Indy100.com. It was 925KYHY.com. And my guest, Lou DiMaggio, is actually on my website, CooperTalk.net, is my fourth guest. How you doing, Lou?
What's going on, man?
Not much, man. I thought of you. We're going to talk about the documentary, but I thought about you the other day when I was sitting there and I saw he has a great documentary coming out. Where Did You Go, Lou DiMaggio? And I said, I got to bring him back on. So you're back on.
It's great to be back.
So
what was the other station? KY? What
was it? It was 925KYHY.com. It was just too long, and I'm sitting there going,
it's 925KY, blah, blah, blah.
But now we were on, when you were on before, we talked a little about how you got into comedy. Now, as a kid, I mean, because I know you're a sports guy. I'm guessing you're a sports guy.
I like sports. I mean, I played some, but I mean, I wasn't really into organized sports, but I played a lot of, street stuff.
Well, you
know what I mean? Like when we were kids, it was like you went out and you stayed out all day, and
you play in the street.
Nobody knew where the hell you were, and we played in lots, and we played, but we played all day long.
We'd play street hockey on this road, and when a car came, you give the car, you have to pull a net to the side.
I never played hockey. I loved hockey, but I never played it because I couldn't skate, roller skate or ice skate.
See, we just did it on our feet.
We used to play it. Yeah, we used to play it in gym when it rained. I remember. I loved that on the floor. It was really cool.
So you loved sports as a kid. Now, did you want to act as a kid? I mean, how did you end up with this career? Because your career's been for a very long time. You went from comedy to writing to acting, seeing a few shows. Now your kid's acting. I mean, it's a whole thing.
I never thought about being a comedian or an actor or any of it. I did think about music. I wanted to be a musician. I wanted to be a rock star. I grew up. I grew up with the Beatles and all that stuff. And from the very beginning, I was like, I want to do that. So I started playing the guitar when I was like 13, 14, garage bands, stuff like that. And then when I got out of high school, I went to a music college, and that's where I fell into acting and stand-up, actually.
Where was it at? Was it in New York?
Yeah, in New York. I was going to school at this college on Long Island called Five Towns College, which was like a version of Berkeley, like in Boston, a contemporary music. I actually have a degree in contemporary music, believe it or not. Not that I use it for anything, but I was studying jazz guitar. And while I was there, I had to fill out a few courses. You know how that goes. So I took what's the easiest thing? I took a communications course or whatever. And I met this teacher who became a mentor. And basically I ended up taking an acting class as well. And she just said, what happened was they chose monologues specifically to the person. In other words, if you were a blue collar guy, she would give you something from whatever on the waterfront. And so for me, for some reason, because she had this sense that I was like a natural comedian, she gave me Lenny Bruce from the play Lenny. And so, I got really serious, and I went and I researched and I got all the records, and I really did it up. I did it seriously. And I realized that after I did it, because it went really well, that I could do it. I could do stand up. And then she took it one step further. She took me to the Improv in New York on her own, dime, everything. Took me there with a couple other people. But during a show, she leaned over to me and she goes, "You could do this, right? You think you could do that?" And I said, "Yeah, I think I could."
So you weren't one of these people like, as me as a kid, I listened to, Carlin. I listened to
I did
Murphy.
listen to them. That's the thing. When I started to do it, I went back and I realized, this was on course all along. I loved Carlin. I loved Robert Klein. I mean, as a kid growing up in an Italian family, there were Pat Cooper records around, So I definitely was into comedy, and I watched all the comedians on TV, like all the guys that did the variety shows. I was a fan. And I was also really good at mimicking these guys. I was a natural. I had the timing and everything, but I never, ever put it together that that's what I would do until I did it. And then it just all was like, everything went like rewind, fast forward. Now you're on track. You know what I mean?
Now, your first night, because we always talk about our first night when you're on stage, and I remember I was nervous. And I always talk to people on the show that most of us had good sets our first night. And then we got cocky, and we're like, "Oh yeah, I could be doing weekends here." Then you go up and you suck the next.
Well,
week.
actually, most people I talk to say they bombed or they had a terrible set. I really had a great set. Somebody said to me, well, first of all, I had to do 5 minutes, and I didn't even know what that meant. So I went down and I wrote this material. I went down in my basement. I woodshedded, and I wrote down what I thought was 5 minutes. I had like 5 different premises. That's what it was. I guess that's what I thought was 5 minutes. So when I actually did the set, it turned out that the first time I ever did stand-up, I did like 25 minutes.
Which every act's going, get him off the stage, for Christ's sake.
But I was doing well, So, but you're right. I mean, the problem with that is that you think, if you're lucky the first time out, you think, well, I'm great, There's nothing for me to learn. But, of course, you have a lot to learn. I didn't know anything about dealing with an audience. Plus, the material needed to be honed, but it was a great way to start. It got me going, and it really, really quickly.
Now, did you do it at one of the New York clubs, or where did you do it?
I did it at a. It turned out to be the best place to start, the White House Inn on Long Island.
Okay.
Where Eddie Murphy actually started.
That's funny because
this was the guy, the Richard M. Dixon guy, who was the Nixon impersonator. So when Nixon resigned, Nixon went off to San Clemente and lived happily ever after, or whatever the hell. But he did fine, and this guy, he was done. And he opens up this little restaurant tavern in Hicksville, Long Island. But it just happened to coincide with the comedy boom. So people were going in there. He was getting, that's where all those Magnificent Seven guys were, Bartlett and Nelson and Hawthorne and all those guys.
Well, it's funny you said White House because you might remember. Do you remember a club in White House Junction booked by Jerry Stanley?
Oh, yeah.
Called the White House?
Yeah, I did that.
Because when I thought of that, I said, oh, my God, this is probably the same guy.
I did every club in Jersey, man. I did them all.
Jerry Stanley, Dennis Ross,
all
and
these
Phil
clubs
Selma.
where it was like, the funniest part about it was you'd show up to do a show and the audience didn't know there was going to be a comedy show. And then they'd get like mad, like what are you talking about? It's like, oh man.
So now you do it in Long Island. Now when do you start to gravitate towards Manhattan? When you sit there and say, you know what, if I want to do it, because you say that in the clip from your movie about you had to get on a catch. And I know back then I think it was Louis Ferranda was a catch, I believe. Well,
when I started a catch, Louis Ferranda was a bartender at Catch. I actually was instrumental in getting him his gig. It's a long story, but no, what happened was I started on the island, and the great thing about that was I immediately started to get ridiculous amounts of stage time. I was already going up. I was getting weekend spots. I was doing emceeing shows during the week, just after beginning to doing stand-up. So I was developing very fast. So I was trying to get into the showcases, and you'd go in, and it was very difficult, and you had to stand online and get a ticket in the morning, and it was a big hassle. And what I realized was I'm doing stand-up. A lot of these guys would go through that hell, and then they'd have to sit in the back for 2 years. And they're not going to develop. They're not going to grow. So my plan changed. I said, all right, I definitely know I have to be there because that's where the action is. But I'm going to wait until I've got some time under my belt. And that was my plan. So when I passed auditions at the Improv first, I was seasoned. I was ready to go. So I already had a plan. I said, if I'm not a regular here in 6 months, I'm out. I'm going somewhere else. Because I was working. I was already doing gigs. I was getting paid. And sure enough, one night I got a chance to go on. Somebody, I think it was Dom Herrera, who you know, of course, from Philadelphia. Killer monster act. He didn't show up, or he was late. He was doing a set somewhere else, and I finally got my chance to go on and a prime time spot, and I blew the room away. And it was like one of those things where you're looking at yourself. It's like an out of body experience. You're going, this is the night. This is the night. This is the night you become a regular. So that happened, and I worked there. I kept working there probably for another year or so. And then the next target was Catch, because Catch was the club in New York City. That was the place to be. That was everybody went there. Celebrities went there, politicians, you name it. It was like classic New York super media place to go. And that's where the industry went too, more importantly for us. I mean, I wanted to branch out into acting and whatever, and it happened. Once I got on there, once I started to work there, I started to get other types of work as well, because I was being exposed to agents and things like that. So it worked out great.
Well, what's crazy is back then is I know when you'd see New York comics, once you guys did, you'd start getting a shitload of TV because you had, the Evening at the Improv, Comedy on the Road. Yeah. I mean, Caroline's, MTV. I mean, there was a ton of them. Now, what was your first TV one? Do you remember? And
yes, I do. And it's an obscure one because it was a local New York show.
Let me interrupt. Comedy Tonight?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And by the way, when all this exposure recently of this doc, I got a instant message from. Do you remember Barry Mitchell, the guy that did Woody Allen? He played the accordion.
I think I just remember.
Really funny guy.
I just remember Glenn Farrington has a clip. He had a picture. He had like the most hideous like blue or yellow jacket that we all wore back then.
Yeah, those 80s clothes. I think I was actually wearing parachute pants in my show. But so Barry sends me a message and says, I have the entire Comedy Tonight, which I had somewhere, but I lost it over the years. And he sent me a beautiful digital copy of it because he's like an archivist. And so I just recently saw it and I have it. So yeah, Comedy Tonight was a local show in New York on Channel 5, hosted by Bill Boggs, who was a local New York guy. Was he also in Philadelphia? Did you get him?
No, we got Richard Bay.
Oh, right. Okay, yeah.
You guys got Bill Boggs.
So that was my first one, and then I went on to do all of the rest of them. I did everything. I always say, I did everything except for Letterman and Tonight Show. I don't know, man. I was just, to be brutally honest, I was always afraid to put myself out there. And Morton liked me, and the guy from the Tonight Show one time saw me in New York, and he said to Silver, the owner, I can keep an eye on that kid. So, but for some reason, I was just like, I don't know. I just felt like things were going along. I didn't want to throw myself into a situation that I was going to be too intense. I don't know.
It was back then, though. It's like the Tonight Show. I mean, that was the day when
it
the
meant
Tonight
something.
Show changed you. I mean, if you went on, you knew you had your schedule booked out, or someone like a Tony Orlando or a Cher is going to pick you up and have you open for him. So now you're doing the comedy and you're in New York. And now when do you sit there and start to say I have to move to L.A.? Or I know you ended up getting out of comedy. How did it all happen?
Well, that was a lot. Well, first of all, I'm in New York. Probably the peak of the comedy boom is like 86, 87, and that's when I'm at Catch. And things are going great. And I'm getting a lot of exposure. I'm getting a lot of attention. I end up, William Morris wants to sign me, and everybody's saying you got to move. It's like, you got to move to Beverly, but there are people that are saying you shouldn't do that. You should stay in New York. You're doing great here. Let them come, let them get you when they need you. And there's two different philosophies about it. But I was like, I'm going for it. So in 1989, I moved to Los Angeles. I went out in 88 for a pilot season, and then I moved in 89. And I started working at the Improv out there. But immediately, even if you're doing well out there in stand-up, the showcase system is like you downshift. You don't work as much. You go on like twice a week, whereas in New York you go on like twice a night. So I started to atrophy a little bit in stand up, and I was also working on other stuff. I was acting, I was doing commercials, I was doing a lot of different things, and also dealing with living in LA, which was a bigger adjustment than I thought it was going to be.
Where's the first place you lived? I always ask people, because people, when we come from back east, we think, oh yeah, it's LA, and then you sit there and you go, hey, this place looks great, and then you're sitting there and you go, holy shit, there's gunshots.
Yeah, right, exactly. Everybody thinks when you move out there from the East Coast, you think this whole place is like a big candy store. It's so nice. Everything's pretty. Yeah, I lived in a place in East Hollywood which is actually now kind of getting better. It's like just on the border of Los Feliz and East Hollywood, right behind Jumbo's Clown Room, as a matter of fact. So if you need the reference point. And yes, there were gunshots. There would be people running through my yard at night, helicopters, the whole 9 yards, man.
And you don't get, it's true, because back east.
And by the way, I timed my move just in time for the riots.
That's perfect.
And the earthquake and the OJ trial. So the 90s was a pretty turbulent time in Los Angeles, you know?
So you're out here in the 90s. And
I'm still doing stand-up, by the way.
You're still doing stand-up.
Yeah.
Now, were you going out on the road at all, or were you just, I mean, because you didn't seem like a guy who went on the road a lot.
I wasn't a road guy. I never really wanted to do that. I did do it. I mean, I would like go to places that I wanted to go. Like, oh, the Mets are playing in Chicago. I'm going to Chicago. I want to be booked, you know, and I would work my schedule around that. But I wasn't a road dog, and I didn't want to be. So when I moved to LA, especially, I didn't want to go on the road, because my whole purpose was that, you know, I wanted to go out and audition, work in television, and do the clubs there. And occasionally I would go out and do a gig, and I hated it, you know. But so what happened was I just was going along and doing my stuff, and not really concentrating so much on my stand-up, which gets to the story of what the movie's about. Because what happened was ultimately I kind of just let it go, which I regretted. I always regretted. Lots of different circumstances. My marriage wasn't going well. My career wasn't going as well as I wanted. A lot of things. It was just like a perfect storm. And, you know, I let go of the one thing that I should not have let go of, you know. And that was probably like in the late 90s.
So you're doing that, you let it go. Because I also left the business. You know, it's a weird feeling. And the same thing, different things you're not going to write, and you're sitting there going,
well, let me ask you something real quick. Sorry to interrupt you, but you're a stand-up, right?
Yeah, I was. I mean,
are you still? Do you consider yourself a stand-up?
I consider myself a stand-up hobbyist.
Because people say to me, you quit. I had this talk with Howie Mandel, and he was all over me, man, about, well, I don't understand it. How could you have quit? How do you? And I understand. I get what he means, but here's the thing. What I'm trying to say is I'm like a born stand-up. So even though I wasn't doing it, I was still a stand-up. So I'm like a stand-up in exile in my mind, you know?
I always say it's like this, because I see people on Facebook, which everyone's a stand-up. Their names say comic.
Today, everybody's a stand-up.
Yeah, but I remember, and I've told this story a lot of times. I remember when I was doing stand-up in Philly, if you came in with leg warmers and said you're going to act, we'd be like, get the hell out, get out. You know, this is only for the comics.
Right.
And am I a stand-up by term? Like, people say, oh, he's a comedian or he's a stand-up. I always go, well, I used to be. That's on the professional thing, because out here you don't want to sit there and go, well, I did not get away. But I think once we do it, and you've come to notice this, once you do it, once you get back, first of all, it's scary. But if you ever had any talent at it, once you get back on stage, it's like a bike. And people can say it's not, because you know, I mean, you know, you're one of those people, you worked a lot. I worked a lot. I was on the road for 7 years. Mm-hmm. We knew what it was like to go up and do 30 minutes, 40 minutes, to do 40 minutes when we had 15 minutes.
Right.
You know, we knew that
stretching the soup.
And I think once you do that, and once you've been a paid act, and I mean a paid act where you make a living.
Yeah, I made a living at it for 15 years, man.
You'll always be a stand-up. But it's like anything. For me, you know, I sit there, I go, well, you know, I do it as a hobby now. Some people are like, oh, how can people be hobby stand-ups? And I go, well, I've done a lot more book gigs than you've ever done.
You know what's interesting? That you make me think of something now. There's a distinction, right? So we're talking about being a work a day, even like you might want to say like a blue collar comic. You know, you're going out there and you're just pounding it out. I think what I found after I left it was that there was a spiritual side to it. There was this essence of the fact that you're a comedian. You're a comedian, man. Why aren't you doing comedy? This is me talking to myself in my head for years, and I was doing okay. You know, I was doing, you know, getting gigs as a writer, producer. You know, I won an Emmy for writing on Ben Stein's show and all this stuff. And I was part of the success of that made me think, well, maybe this was the move, you know. And really, all I needed to do was just keep it going, keep the flame lit, just do a couple of gigs here and there, and I would have been okay. But it just kept snowballing in my mind to the point that I realized, you know, you're living a lie. You got to get back into it, man. And the purpose of what this is about, too, the film, is to see if that's even something I can do. We don't know yet, because we're in the middle of this now as we speak today. I'm just doing sets now, and it's going great. I'm loving it, but I don't know ultimately how this movie ends.
Well, what was for you? You left and you said somewhere inside, yeah, I'm still a comic. Mm-hmm. What was the defining moment when you sat there and said, okay, one, I have to get back on stage, and two, did you want to do the documentary first, and then start the following, or did you say I'm going to start and then the documentary came to you?
Well, to be brutally honest, I was always thinking about doing it. It was always in my mind, and yet I couldn't get motivated to do it because I just felt like, I don't know, I felt like I needed something else behind it. I needed a support system. And crazily enough, I did think of, oh yeah, this would be a cool doc. So then I'm having lunch with my friend Brad Kuhlman, who's the director of this project and executive producer, is a guy that I worked with on shows as a writer-producer. Ironically, I say ironically because I realize I get out of stand-up, right? And then I go off and work in this other world that I'm thinking that I regret. But none of this would happen if I didn't do that, if I didn't take that detour and bring it all back around. Because we had lunch, and I think we were talking about some project that he was working on where he brought up Belzer's name. And I just happened to say, oh, Bells, I love the Bells, man. He was like one of my idols in New York. He was one of the Catch guys. And we start talking about stand-up, and we start talking about the boom, in New York in the 80s and Catch and that scene and that world. And realizing, that it had never really been, with all of this fever, with all of these comedy docs, no one's ever really covered that. So at first it was a conversation about, wouldn't that be interesting to do something about that? And we're just batting it around. And then, like, out of nowhere, he says, what about you? Would you be interested in doing stand-up again? And I was just kind of like, wow, this is really on. This could happen. Like, it's almost like, oh, God, not to get too, like The Secret, but it was manifested. It was like saying, I said to myself in my brain one or two times, I'd love to do stand-up again. It'd be great if somebody made a doc about it, too. Like, like that would never happen. And all of a sudden, in one day, it was on. And this was only like last year, like in August.
So you get the idea to do this again, get back. But now in the middle, were you talking to guys you knew who a lot of you guys, I know you're probably in Scroven's class and all those guys.
Yeah.
A lot of you guys went on to write. And that's something that it seems like a lot of the New York comics went on to write. And that's where they make their nut now. Did you guys ever sit there and get together when you're out here and go, man, remember the old days? Why aren't we doing this? Like, yeah, you're making a living. You guys have houses. It's not like you're sitting there. You're not making espresso. It's not like you're sitting there.
No, but there are differences. I mean, yeah, I didn't get into sitcoms. Sitcoms big time money. I ended up in a world where I did okay, but it wasn't like super great money. It was like middle class showbiz money. So I would occasionally get together with him and Alan Havey and people like that. And we'd all sit down. Matter of fact, as recent as a few months ago, and there we are. And we start talking a little bit about the days. It's how it is. When comics get together, it's just everybody starts getting back into their ball-busting mode and, whatever. Doesn't matter what anybody's doing now. Whoever you were then, that's who you are.
Right. And they always stand up, like Jeff Martyr, who always sit there when you talk to him. He stands up, and it's like, dude,
Jeff Martyr, by the way,
sit down.
Wow. When I started talking about doing this doc, he was really affected by it. Like, it was because I think he feels like he wants to do stand-up again, too. I didn't really know him that well back in the day. I mean, we were acquaintances, maybe. I don't know, but I didn't know him that well. He came out to see me. I was doing a 10-minute spot in a bar in Silver Lake, and he drove all the way out from Marina Del Rey because he was like, he wanted to find out what the hell's going on, man. And
No, I made him go on stage.
Yeah.
At this
recently?
About 8 months ago.
Okay.
In this god awful Italian restaurant owned by these two twins who they're Irish. They were
two Irish guys own an Italian restaurant. It was right away we got a problem.
And it was on Kitchen Nightmares. So it's like that kind of place. And so I'd say Martyr. I tell the guy who books it, and I go, hey, Jack, I go, you get some balls and get on stage. Oh, I don't know, Coop. I'm like, get the balls and get on stage. So I send the guy a booker. I go, hey, just go look up, Tonight Show. Just Google Jeff Martyr.
Yeah, Jeff was big time back in the day, man.
And it was weird watching someone who I watched, and it was sort of, I always remembered him before I became good friends with him. You're like, oh my God, it was weird to watch him getting on stage for the first time.
Yeah.
Because I know you went through that, and I went through it when I got back. And it's such a different time because, as you said, you guys had the rhythm. You were working 2-3 times a night in New York. Even out here, when you weren't working, you still were getting on stage.
We had the residual of that. It was like being in shape.
And then when you go, he was away for like 15 years now. How long away were you before you actually got on stage out here?
You mean like
your
like
first time
recently?
coming back? Yeah.
Oh, it's like, oh God, it's like 17, 18 years, maybe 19 even, maybe like 90. I'm trying to think of when I stopped. It was around 98, 8 or 9. So now it's 2016. So it's like, 17 years.
Now, how have you seen the business change? I mean, starting out now, because you're basically starting out now,
Yeah.
which is funny because
Yeah.
people don't know who you are. And that's
No.
what I always love when I would.
There's
do
a great
shows.
moment in the trailer when Jeff Garland says, I just want to tell you that people want to tell you that no one knows who you are and no one cares.
Well, the best thing about that for me was,
And it's true.
But the thing is, once you go up on stage, because here's what happens, because there's so many hipster kids now.
Yeah,
They're always
yeah.
like,
I'm embracing that.
Who are these old guys? It's like
Yeah.
they come, who's the old guys? And then you go up and you have the chops, because you don't lose the chops.
No.
And you go up and you have a good set, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, who is that guy? And then
Yeah.
they're going, oh shit. Next thing you're like, I don't want to follow him. I don't want to follow, because you get there because it's going to come back second nature. I mean,
Right.
you sit there, and it must be weird for you to sit there because you're contemporaries. Like when you see the documentary, the thriller, Larry David. You just interviewed Harry Mandel. It's not like you're getting some guy who's
Right.
doing the rap battle at the Comedy Store. You're getting legends, which you were all embraced you, and that must be a weird feeling.
Well, I'm not. It's weird. That is a weird feeling. It's been such an incredible. I mean, it's like it's a wonderful life or something, because I'm contacting these people. That's kind of what we started with. We started with let's start with getting some people that I know, that I worked with back in the day, and just seeing if they'll go on film and talk about this. And to my delight and surprise, every single one of them that I called was totally down right away, and we started shooting them. And everything sort of spins around, like it becomes an organic thing, because I get inspired when I talk to them for real. And this stuff that they put out, like, they were very encouraging. And in many cases they were just saying, it's just a matter of, you're already there, you already did it, just do it again, but that part of it has been incredibly inspiring. And I think, on another level, it's going to be wonderful for people who see the film to see these people talking about comedy and the process and experience and, anecdotes, advice, true comedy experience. It's just wonderful. So it's all becoming, it's just started, it's like a big steam train now that's coming out and has a life of its own,
So now you're sitting there, you decide, I'm getting back. Now, where do you go from? Because the people you knew aren't, it's not like they're sitting there because, Larry David's not really playing clubs. And it's not, you can't sit there and go, hey, there's people, the industry changes. You don't know people. You probably don't know what you're going to do. Because I know when I went back on stage, I was like, you're sitting there and you're trying new shit and you're getting a little bumpy and you go, do I pull out that bit I did in 1992?
Yes, you do.
And then you go, but when you walk off, you go, holy crap. It's like, I don't think they even know who Alan Thicke is.
Well, the thing is you find something that's evergreen. I had a bit that I always used to do about the facts of my father telling me the facts of life. So I said, all right, that's going to be my security blanket. I'll build everything around that. And that's what I've been doing. And I feel like, sometimes I open with it, sometimes I close with it. Maybe I'll do it in the middle. It's just this thing that's there, and it doesn't make any sense. I can do sets without it. But for right now, I'm just literally getting on stage again. It just feels good to know that I have this bit that is a kind of a tried and true bit as I add this new stuff, because obviously it's all going to be new. And what I'm talking about and where I'm coming from is completely different than where I was then. I mean, I was a good act, but I was young. I didn't have a lot of life experience. There are things about my life that I can talk about now that I could probably do a half hour on just a divorce.
Right.
Really funny topic, by the way. So, but you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, it's you have those certain things that will work, but then it's
Yeah.
also, and I think a lot of comics, as we've gotten older, is, it's a big step to bare your soul somewhat and actually share personal
Yeah.
stuff. And what's funny about it is in the back of your head, you're pretty sure it's going to work.
Yes.
But-
Well, don't you feel it because because you have experience?
But you have that 5% that you sit
Oh,
there and
yeah.
go, hey, I'm going to get on stage and tell this story,
Right.
and no one's going to like it, and they're going to go, this guy's a dick. Wait, I've never seen him on
Nothing
TV.
is a sure thing, man. No, even if you think it's funny, even if you know it's funny. I've already had that experience with a couple of jokes, lines that I've been working with, where just like in the old days, it's like you go up and you try it and it worked. Okay, good. That's a good joke. Then you do it again the next time, and it's like, not as good as that time. And then you're like, already now you're thinking about getting rid of it. And then I did it again a third time. This has really happened, and it killed. So it's like you're confused, but it's like, all right, well, I'm on the right track. I mean, the process is happening. For me, honestly, right now, the most important thing is to get stage time. I need to just hammer it all out and get up and get on as much as possible.
Now, what was your first gig back, and how'd you set that up? And did you over prepare? Because I think sometimes we do that. Either we don't prepare when you're coming back and you haven't been on stage for a long time, and I wasn't a big guy with notes. I saw the trailer for the documentary. I know you had a lot of notes. I never really.
No, those notes were just those notes when you write stuff down and throw it in a box.
Because I never do that.
I'll get to it later, but it's just like I don't want to forget this idea, whether it's just a premise or a line. It's not. That's none of that stuff is actual material, but it's stuff that sparks bits because you know it is. You think it's something funny. Do you write it down?
Usually not.
Now you don't, but if you were doing stand-up, you would.
Yeah, I guess. But I was always one of those.
It's like mining, It's like.
I was weird like that. I never taped my sets because I never sat there and people.
Well,
I never liked doing that.
Well, you know what? You know why I didn't do that back in the day? Because I had so much stage time, I didn't have to. If I would do a set and then I'd go do it in another club and I would hone it that night. But now, because stage time is so precious, I'm taping everything. I'm going back and looking at it. First of all, let's backtrack for 1 second. This is about getting a second chance, right? To do this incredible thing, stand-up comedy. And so if you have a second chance, then you start thinking about, well, what would I do differently? How would I be better? I mean, when you sit around and regret a bad decision that you make, what do? You think about, well, how could I have done it different? How could it have been better? Well, now I'm getting a chance to go back and do this. So I'm reworking my whole process. And not to mention the fact that I've had 15 years of experience as a writer. So now I feel like, well, I'm a writer who's writing for me. I'm like I'm like Rob Petrie who's working for Lou DiMaggio. So I can put that hat on when I'm writing. And I didn't have that before. I didn't have that confidence. So that's really interesting and fun to work that process. And then when I go on stage, I'm the comedian. So I'm crazy. I'm of two minds.
First gig, where was it? And what was it like?
Well, I met this young comic I was working on a television taping. I was helping with something, punching up something. I don't know what. But she's like 30 maybe. So that generation. And, they all have gigs and they all have rooms and they all do stand-up. So I said, look, I'm a stand-up. I haven't done stand-up in a long time. And I'm working on this doc. And I need a place to do my first set. And she was doing a show at the UCB, the new UCB on Sunset. They have this big room. And they have improv shows, but they also have stand-up shows. So I said, well, if you could book me, I'd love to do it. And she
said, send me a tape.
Yeah. I don't even have a tape. If I sent her a tape, it would have been from 1987.
When you look like John Cusack.
Yeah, it looks like my son. So anyway, she was very cool and yes, of course, I'd love to have you do it. And I said, well, and also we're going to shoot it. Is that okay? That's another thing I have to lay on people. Do you mind if we shoot it? I can't do that everywhere, but certainly the first one back, I wanted to. So going into that, I was a little nervous. Well, I was a lot nervous, but as far as the process, again, I wrote stuff. I like I said, I had that one bit that I was going to definitely do, but I wrote a bunch of new stuff. And I talked to Colin Quinn, who is an old dear friend. I mean, we used to work together and stuff back in the day, but he gave me a lot of great advice about process and about, you write the bit down. Then you talk it into a tape recorder, and then you listen to that, and then you rewrite until you get it to a place you want it to be. So I experimented with that, and I wrote some ideas down. So, and again, it's going to be a 5-minute set. This is all for 5 minutes. So, I remember my first 5 minutes was 25 minutes, so I don't even know what the hell. But now I'm really going to do 5 minutes. So I was really nervous that day. I never got nervous. I mean, you get nervous when you do stand-up, but it's that good kind of nervous. But I was really I had a little bit of an anxiety attack, which that's not me at all. And I don't even know why. I guess because probably because we're filming it and it's got higher stakes than it would have had if I was just a guy just going up there and doing it again. But now we're documenting it and all that. But I got to get used to that. So my goal was, well, let's see how you feel up on stage. Let's see if this thing is even going to go anywhere from here. Because if your hands are shaking, or we're going to have some big problems. So that's what I was most concerned about. And then I get there, and there's nobody there,
right.
And there's not going to be anybody there. There was maybe 2 people there that were like layovers from some other play reading or something. Oh, by the way, the room is the worst possible scenario for stand-up, as you know. So it's a gigantic room. It's not tight. There are couches. Couches, death, right?
Yeah,
people are laying on a couch, they're not going to laugh. They, the opposite, of course, was that Letterman mentality of the people. It's freezing. They're like this. They're watching comedy. This is like completely laid back, big cavernous room, couches. Nobody there, maybe 2 people, and the comics. I'm playing to the comics, who, by the way, were great. They were very supportive, and they knew what was going on. So, cut to, I'm on stage, I'm doing the set. It went well. I mean, again, it's hard to tell because there wasn't a real audience to play to, but I did some most of it was brand new stuff. Some of it landed. I felt really good because I ad-libbed a little bit. I mean, that's a good sign, I was that loose, and I felt comfortable, and I felt at home on stage. So to me, overall, it was a big success, and it gave me the impetus to keep going. And since then, I've done some other stuff, and now I'm doing some spots at the Comedy Store, and those are going well. So I feel really good about it. But I also feel like I'm not taking it for granted. When I go up now, I'm a relaxed type of comic on stage, but inside I'm like, I'm feeling like this is Saturday night, man. You got to kill. I still have that fire inside. I feel like that's how it works for me. I don't know. So the answer, I guess, to the question in a long roundabout way is, the first one went okay. It's well enough, and I'm doing okay now. So this is where it is. This is where it's at right now.
Now, how do you sit there and handle when you bomb? If you do, I mean, it just happens. I mean, it's not like back in the day, you bomb, you can run. It's like the old Saturday wisdom.
What is this bomb you speak of?
Yeah, exactly. But remember that, like you'd have like a 3-show night on a Saturday.
Yeah.
And you go in, and this happened to me. I was playing in D.C. and it was a 3-show weekend, and Dave Chappelle was hosting.
Wow.
I was middling, and someone else was closing. And I'm, you know how it is when you're in a feature on the road. You're like, oh yeah, 30 minutes.
Easy.
And he just smokes me. I mean, this kid's 16, smokes me. I get off stage, I'm going like, holy crap. And all of a sudden you feel like a dick because, the booker's looking at you like, hey, what the hell? It's Garvin's. This is a good change.
Right.
You go back to the hotel. The next day you're feeling bad, so I'm sitting there. You have to get your confidence up. I go in first show, I kill it. So then you get cocky. Because you know how comics do.
Sure.
When we have a good set, we get, oh yeah, no one can follow us. And then I go up and I die.
See, that's crazy because that's like golf. That's like you hit one good shot and you think you're always going to be good, but it's not. That doesn't work that way. That's how comedy is.
What is it like for you though when you had somewhat of a bad set because you're still new and it's not like you can say, okay, I screwed up right now. You have to sit there and go, well, I got to call some guy I don't know to get a set, possibly at a place in Eagle Rock that has 3 people with a blender going.
I gotta be honest with you. Due to the nature of the length of these sets and stuff, I have not died. I may do a bit that doesn't work as well as another one, but it's going well. I mean, I'm not ready to do more time. I think if I was in a situation where I had to do whatever 25, 30 minutes, that might bring something like that on. But I feel confident enough with such a short amount of time that I can. It's like if you can't swim and you're in the middle of the pool, but you feel I can get to the side.
Right.
So right now I can get to the side.
Now, what is it like also? Because I would think, because when I went out and started doing it out here, it's very different. As I said, we came up with the comic mentality. And a lot of these kids are starting later. I call them kids.
These kids today, Steve.
These kids, I'll tell you.
These kids with the irony.
Exactly. The stories, telling the stories.
With the stories that nobody cares about.
But but so for you, I mean, what's it like? Because you're seeing people who you have to get spots from.
Yeah.
Who at your age, you were already accomplished because you were working the city.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I think in these days, I don't think that there's not being a comic back then was valiant. It's when we were back in the day, like being a comic was the shit. I
Yeah,
mean, you said
sure.
that. But now it's like being a comic. It's like, especially out here, it's like, well, I want to act, and
Yeah.
I can do this because then they're going to come see me. What is it like for you to interact? Because you were with, I mean, you saw the explosion of comedy when it just blew up off the map. I mean, you talk about that on the trailer.
Yeah.
It was on the cover of Rolling Stone.
It was
Everyone
so
showed
great
up.
to be a part of that, you know. I find, to be honest, that the younger people that I'm working with, you know, they get it, and when they see a guy who's been around, they respect it. They're nice kids, you know. I want to. I'm spending more time with them, but I'm sort of in different places. Like that's the thing. I think that's probably the answer to your question. It's so fragmented and compartmentalized. You know, you got like these young kids doing backyard shows and all kinds of stuff that blows me away. And yet we're going to go. I'm going to do that. I want to get into all of it. And then you got people that's like have been doing it since I left it, who are maybe more kind of like where I came from, but also dealing with a whole new world of social media and how does that play into it? You have to have Twitter followers, and this is all stuff that matters when you get booked into clubs, which is, again, that's very Rip Van Winkle for me. Like I woke up and I'm like, what? You know, I didn't even have, there was cell phones were just starting to happen when I left.
Right.
So, you know, we used to have to go to the phone booth in the club to talk to people and get cocaine. No, I'm kidding. That's where we had to go to talk to people. So my point is, yeah, it's very interesting. And part of me is just never mind being a comic, but it's like as a documentarian man, you know, you're walking into this world and you're going, you know, it used to be like this. Now it's like this. And now it's like what's going here. And I'm kind of like a time traveler in a way, which is really cool.
Yeah, because that's for me also. I always laugh because, you know, back when we were doing stand-up, you couldn't just make flyers. You know, like you had to sit there and get like a copy.
Well, you know what?
And it was the thing is, though, the flyers, I laugh now because there's like, they put the flyer on the wall and there's like, come to this great show. 14 comics, and I go back when I started out doing stand-up. If there was 14 comics and none were getting paid, it was an open mic. It wasn't like a gig. Now it's like everyone lives for that flyer. Like for us, we didn't give a shit.
Well,
now
the flyers are still there. They're digital now.
No, it's easy now. They just make them like
put
that.
Put it online. You put it on Facebook.
Like we didn't have that access. And even I sit there and think, if you try to go on and work more, or if you try to audition for someone, you know, we used to have to send a press kit,
right? You know,
with your stupid ass tape.
But here's the thing, and to be fair to them, I mean they're out there hustling their asses off. We didn't have to because we were growing up. We were doing it during a time when it was the hottest thing going. So I mean that was the biggest slap in the face. I mean I grew up in stand up when you go to the club, it was packed every night. You never put a thought to, can I get people to come and see me? That wasn't part of your deal at all. And now that's all they think about. Some of them can't get on at all unless they do bringer shows, you know. All of those things are completely foreign and alien to me. But now I'm dealing, you know, with that. I mean, I haven't had to do that yet. I don't know if I will. I don't know. But there's so much more work that goes into it for them, I think, with promotion and all of that stuff that we never even had to give a second thought to.
Now, how is it to people that you're close to? How are they reacting to you coming back? Because also it changes because, you know, when you're writing, you're at home at night. Now it's like you got to go out. And as I said, gigs are, well, you sit there and you, like for me, I'd be like, well, do I really want to drive to Marina Del Rey? And I'm like, to do 7 minutes in front of nobody. And that's the thing. And because when we're older, we're like, yeah, you know, my time's more valuable.
Exactly true.
What's it like for you now socially? I mean, how does your family expect it? They know you're doing you're doing the documentary.
Yeah, they're involved with it.
What's the whole thought of them going, wait a second, well, he's not going to be around, or I mean, how has that affected your life?
It's a big adjustment. It's a big adjustment for them and for me. I mean, you talk about going out and doing that set at 10:30 at night. I'm not used to that. I mean, I used to, back in the day, that would be an early spot, right? And you'd be up all night. I lived that life. I lived a complete flipped around clock for years, where I'd get up at 5 o'clock in the afternoon because I was so entrenched in doing all the clubs in New York. So I'd be out all night, and then we go to after hours clubs after that. So the whole thing was beat the sun home. You know, can you possibly get home before the sun comes out? And now I'm like, I go out to do a 10:30 spot, and I was like, wow, I was tired. I was wasted. But what I realized, but then I kept doing it, and I was like, yeah, okay, I could do it. It's back. It's there. It's part of it. You can't let that get in the way. They call it a nightclub for that reason. And I never liked doing comedy during the day anyway. I don't know if you ever did. You ever have to do those colleges?
I never.
It just
did the
didn't feel
colleges.
right when the sun was coming through.
Oh, yeah, it's a thing. It's like anything. It's like when there's a time change when you go out to dinner. You're like, wait a second, I can't go eat a steak at 6. I gotta wait till 7:30 because you eat a steak when it's dark.
Exactly. So yeah, there's that part of it. So and then my family has to adjust because they're used to having me around all the time. But they're cool. They're cool with it. They understand that there's rhyme and reason to it, and in a good way. They understand. And this is the overall thing that I really want to get across as far as all of this. This isn't a stunt. This isn't some kind of grab at trying to figure out a way to make money, because I'm not going to be making money at stand-up probably for a long time. I don't know. But what it is this great experiment and this great feeling of actually doing something that you love to do, that you had this kind of weird love-hate relationship with, and now you're trying to fix it. And so it feels kind of great to do that on that level.
Now, would you start going on the road again if you had the opportunity? Like, would you do, I know a lot of guys who do cruise ships, just because they get to do it and it's great money. Would you start doing something like that, or is this something where you're doing it more for the passion? Or,
well, I would like to do it. I would love to be able to have the option to make a living at it, of course. I feel like I'm going to be no matter what happens, I think I'm going to be doing it, right? But I'm also going to continue to do writing and producing work. I'm going to, you got to hustle anyway, right? Can't just do one thing. But the mistake that I won't make is to not do it when I'm on a job, or whatever. But that's one scenario. The perfect case scenario would be, I start doing it, and I don't see myself going out on the road in a way that keeps me away from home for a long time. But if I could pick and choose and cherry pick gigs and do a weekend here and a week there, spread out and spaced around, I would love to do that, sure.
Now, are you doing a constant writing process now? Do you try to write every day, or what? How do you handle that? Because some people write in spurts, some do it every day. For you now, when you're coming back, and as you said, when we're younger, stage time.
I never had to sit down and write back in the day.
What are you doing now?
Well, now I sit down. My plan is to sit down and write every day, and put a couple of hours into it at least. I haven't, because of other things, I haven't always been able to do that. But what happens is I sit down, I have these bits that I'm working on, but inevitably what happens to me is right before I fall asleep, I get a flood of jokes and ideas coming to me, So it's hard. It's like a big puzzle. My stuff comes to me in it's like a puzzle. I get pieces of the puzzle, and I write them down. That's the thing that I really have to do. It's like a fleeting thing, and it's like if I don't grab it, it's gone. I used to be able to maybe remember stuff easier. And also I got used to using my phone. The voice memo thing on the iPhone is great. I tape my sets on that. I also voice memo ideas if I'm in the car. So I'm constantly writing stuff down, and then it's about harvesting that. So then I sit down in a formal writing session. Head writer Lou sits down and goes through all the crap and puts it together and says, here's all these ideas for the Costco bit.
Right.
So, and that process is something that is evolving as we go, And what I love the most is I work on stuff, but then I get on stage and I add a joke or a line or a reference or something that comes to me in the moment. That's when I know I'm on. It's back. Because I used to do that back in the day. I used to go on sometimes without a plan and just do a set. Like a jazz musician. To me, that's what it really is, right? When you're that in the groove, you got all your stuff, right? You know all your stuff, but it's like throw it away, Forget about it. Get up there and just be funny. So whether you're working with the crowd, in other words, try to do an organic set where maybe a bit that you do comes out of talking to somebody, but you have a bit about that. And then you weave into it. Like I said, it's like when a jazz musician plays a solo, that to me is what comedy can be, where you just blow, you kick it out, And that's going to take me a while to get back to that place again. But that's when I'll know that. And I've seen little signs of it where, again, if you think of a joke on the spot or you embellish a bit that you're working on the spot, that's what that is. That's you improvising. off that riff, and that's how you know you're on point.
So you're doing as you're getting back in this, you're doing some, as we said, some crappy gigs.
Mhm.
Because it's just that's
Sure.
there is. What was it like for you to finally go back to the comedy store? You go to the comedy store where you know there's a good chance there's gonna be people there. I mean,
Yeah.
it's gonna be packed. Were you more nervous because there's gonna be more people? So for you, the payoff is higher. Especially, I always felt when you have a camera on you when
Yeah.
you perform. I always felt like for me when I would do those audition tapes, you get your little camcorder and put it in the back. I would always feel if there was like 20 people in the audience, I wouldn't tape myself. But then I would sit there and go, that's when I have a better set because I'm more relaxed.
Yeah.
Were you nervous getting up? I mean, we always have that little anxiety. But were you nervous at all because you had the camera, you had the crowd now? Because then that's a real reflection. I mean, you're in front of people who are paying, not people who are just sitting there walking in when they go, hey, look, I can get a scone and I can watch some stand up. So how was that?
Well,
like?
here's the thing, though. We can't tape at the Comedy Store. They won't allow
Okay.
it, or at least they wouldn't allow us to use it in the film. But I've gotten used to being taped. I mean, that's not an issue anymore. I have to live with that. But the Comedy Store, I was more nervous about because it was, walking into one of those clubs again. I kind of I was putting it off, and then I just decided to dive into it. I was, and I don't know why, because it actually has been great. Because basically, that's what you want. You want to be in a place where people are coming to see a comedy show. Duh, So I've been really enjoying it because I'm working in the ones that I've done so far have been in the big room, and they're not full, but there's enough people to make a show, and it's felt real. It's like I feel like I'm back in a comedy club, so that's good. The ones that are weird are when you go out and you do the bars or whatever. There's a couple of them are actually good, and sometimes it's just hit or miss. Maybe there might be some people there. I mean, I did this thing in Burbank, this bar, and I'm standing up. First of all, I'm standing in front of a pool table.
I know.
Right? There's no stage. There's not even a light on me, by the way. The light is over the pool table, so I feel like I should be on the pool table, laying down. And then I'm doing my set, and some drunk dude just walks by me to go to the bathroom. Like literally right past me, and you hear the door shut, and you hear the toilet, the whole thing, and then he comes out, and of course I'm talking to him, which it was all good. And my spirit, but see, that's the thing. Like back in the day, after a while, that kind of stuff would be like, oh, I can't do this anymore. But now I'm like, I'm embracing everything. I'm like, what the hell, man? I need every second I can get back into this, even if it's dumbass like that. Everything is valuable.
I can get you a bunch of dumbass.
Yeah, I know. You told me that.
A
So
bunch.
He says he's going to get me a gig in K-Town, man.
Yeah,
I'll
that's a
do
cool
that.
little place. And then there's a place in.
At least I can get some barbecue while I'm
Yeah,
down
exactly. And there's a Universal Bar and Grill. They always do comedy there, but it's all comics that hang out. But it's
there. See, we can shoot at those places, right?
Because that place, they're probably like, oh wait,
Because we'll if we shoot at those places, we'll definitely have some low points that we can put in the film.
I'll get you have them. But now, yeah, exactly. So now, what's your long term idea for this documentary? What do you want to get it done? Like an hour and a half, whatever. What is your goal for how it'll end and how it will come, going from doing radio, from doing clubs? What do you want to come from it?
What do I want to come from it? First of all, I want it to be a really good film. It's interesting because this is a great experience for me because I get to be in it and be the subject of it, but also sit back and be a producer too. And we discuss what we're going to do and stuff. And one of the things that we agreed on, Brad and I, was that we were going to let it fly. Let's see what happens, like a real documentary. And because I don't know, here, what I wish would happen is what happens in those great docs where something happens that nobody thought was going to happen, right? I don't know what that is. I had a kind of a moment like that with Howie when I was interviewing Howie. He's pressing me, and he's pressing me like, why did you stop, man? I don't understand it. So he's getting me to talk about that. And one of the things I talk about is, the fact that, my marriage wasn't doing well. Oh, okay, so your marriage wasn't doing well. What's your ex-wife's phone number? He pulls his phone out, and he calls my ex-wife. And I had to deal with that. That was amazing. Brilliant for the film. I can tell you now, honestly, it was not planned. Nobody planned. That was his thing. That's what he does. And it was great. So that's just a small example of what I'm talking about in terms of something coming up or something happening that changes the game. But even if that doesn't happen, what we're dealing with here is we're looking at the business as it used to be, we're looking at it as it is, and maybe where it's going, and we're also watching a guy try to develop again, it's there. There's plenty of stuff there. It's going to be good. I think it's going to be really interesting. I mean, objectively, I can guarantee that because, also because of the people that are in it. It's kind of got a life of its own and a rhythm of its own. And already, even though, it's not done, it's almost done. I'm very proud of it. I think it's going to be really good. And I really can't wait to see what it's going to look like.
Well, the trailer's great. I'll be honest. And I mean, I'm a big documentary guy, and I sit there, and I know there's certain documentaries that are all propaganda, and there's some that aren't.
Right.
Yours isn't. And what I liked about the trailer is it catches you because you sit there, just the whole intro of, it was the time and the Rolling Stone, and it's all edited. And to me, documentaries are so much about editing. Now, people can see the trailer at wherever you're going. You have a Facebook page.
Yeah, it's called Where Have You Gone, Lou DiMaggio, like the Simon and Garfunkel song.
No.
So Where Have You Gone, Lou DiMaggio on Facebook. It's this page. So, and the trailer teaser is on there. As well as that's become a place where I'm dumping on like all my old pictures from those days and even new things. So it's all that's like all stand up. And it's all about the film, and it's all about where have I gone.
Now do you tweet about it? Are you a Twitter guy?
I'm a Twitter guy. I'm actually really kind of good at it, but I think like Twitter is if you're not a young kid, and it's really a celebrity medium. So I don't have a lot. I have like 468 followers or something like that, which are organic. I got them through tweeting stuff out. Facebook is bigger for me because I get more response. I feel like Twitter could be something good. I love it. I like it. I like it because it's a perfect format for comedians because you can tweet out. I tweet out a lot of jokes and observations.
You tweet a lot of political stuff. I
do
too.
I do.
And I like it because we have to sit there and we have to condense it. Mm-hmm. We can't be like, hey, blah, 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 blah. You go.
That's what's great about it.
Then you sit there and you go, shit, okay, I've used an ampersand Fornand, and I've did this.
It forces you to edit, and it makes it better.
It's a great process. We have about a few minutes left. Tell us, what are the goals in the next year for Lou DiMaggio?
Wow. Hopefully the film will be done, and it'll be done and out, and we'll see what happens with that. In the meantime, I have to continue to do stand-up, and I also have to work. So everything feels good. It's on course. Like I said, I guess the priority is to get the film done, edited, and out. And no matter what happens with that, again, this opportunity to get back into stand-up is something that I have to continue to do, no matter what else I do, if I work on a show or whatever it is, whatever comes. And hopefully after the film comes out, the more interesting things will happen. Who knows?
Now, who's some of the celebrities we can see in the film?
We have Larry David, you may have heard of. Larry David is in the film. Dimash, don't do anything that you don't think is funny. And we have Colin Quinn. He's in the film. All of a sudden, I'm like a hack impressionist. Colin's in the film. We have Howie Mandel, I told you. We have Susie Essman, Joy Behar. Who am I missing? Jeff Garlin.
Yeah, Rich Scheidner.
Scheidner, yes.
Scheidner's
Rich Scheidner, the new
fellow,
comedy whisperer.
Fellow South
Rich.
Jersey
Rich
guy.
is a great guy. Rebecca Corey, who is one of the newer people.
Yeah, I hit her up to be on my show. She goes, that sounds great. Never got back to me.
Oh, really?
I said,
maybe we can help you with that.
That's okay. I'm like,
Rick Newman, by the way, the original owner of Catch a Rising Star, did a phenomenal interview. And we hope to get, as we move along, we're hoping to get more of those people from there, like Richard Belzer. He was already agreed to do it. We just have to track him down because he lives in France. And then we have Kevin Meaney is going to do it. It's going to be really cool. So we already have a lot of great people, but it's going to be even better.
Do you think that when this gets done and younger comics see this, do you think it may give them some inspiration, or some people that are doing comedy want to get out? Do you think it will help them want to stay in it just because to see how you've done it and you end up missing it and you have regrets?
My thing, I would love for younger comics to just get a better sense of what the history of the business. I'd like to teach a course in that even. And I think this will be a document that will highlight a time that was an awesome, incredible time, and a place specifically, and a club, and people. But then has this added bonus of someone who's going through a process again. So you're getting You're getting a lot, you know, and if you're a comic, you're going to appreciate it, I think.
Well, I want to thank you for coming on.
My pleasure.
Now give your Twitter and all that good stuff.
Oh, my
the Twitter.
My Twitter is at Lou DiMaggio. One word, Lou DiMaggio, LouDiMaggio, at Lou DiMaggio. And I'm Lou DiMaggio on Facebook. What else do I have?
That's it.
Instagram,
Yeah,
same thing, at Lou DiMaggio.
So people check him out. Also check me out on Twitter. I'm at Cooper Talk. That's at Cooper Talk. Go to my website, coopertalk.net. I have I have over 490 episodes up there. You can email me at coopertalk.net. Say a good word. Say if you want to be a sponsor. I don't care. Do something for me. Give me some money. Instagram, it's Cooper Talk 1. iTunes, Stitcher, same thing. Just Cooper Talk, one word. If you have a Android phone, go to the Google Play Store for free. You can get the Cooper Talk app. And don't forget my other website, because I know Lou also had a health problem with a heart. Well, you know what? I had my heart problem a few years ago. I wrote a book, StopTheSalt.com. Remember, I was in the hospital. I had to change my eating. So it's 120 recipes, people. Easy to make. So, you know, if you're sitting there at home, there's no pictures. You won't get intimidated because we look at pictures of food and we go, well, I can't cook this. You know, so you look at no pictures and the ingredients are basic. You know, if you don't have cumin, don't worry. I have nothing with cumin in there. So you can go to StopTheSalt.com. Now, you can get it at Barnes & Noble or Amazon, but if you get it there, I make less money. And then once again, it's all about me making money. So go to StopTheSalt.com, buy the cookbook. And don't forget, go check out Where Did You Go, Lou DiMaggio, the Facebook page.
Where Have You Gone?
Where Have You Gone, Lou DiMaggio? And it's a great trailer. I screwed it up. See that? I screwed up.
Where
Anyway.
have you gone, Lou DiMaggio? See?
And you and John Manfrotati.
That's right.
And
We
good.
sang that
So
together.
people, go follow him on Twitter. I'm Steve Cooper. I'm only as hip as my guests. Don't forget, drink your water, eat your vegetables, take your vitamins, and I'll talk to you guys next week.